right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and there is so much to go over in such a short amount of time. But we're going to talk about, of course, the huge breaking stories that are coming out right now. Of course, if you haven't been following the story all day, you can actually go watch at Marfoogle News, a short kind of bringing it up. But right now, tonight, we're going to go through all of the details, step by step, like what is happening with this whole Shawn Ryan show, busting out this email, which has now been confirmed by law enforcement as a legit email from the guy that dropped off the Cybertruck. He is stating some things about the drones on the East Coast. He is talking about paraphetic anti-gravity technology being used by Chinese-launched drones off of the East Coast. This actually makes a lot of sense at the same time as being completely nutty. I am also going to go back. I'm going to go back in time to this video of the Butler County Sheriff, which he got in trouble, or at least got criticized for actually speaking out loud about a meeting that he went to with 3,300 other sheriffs. Of course, the sheriffs have kind of like their own union type thing. They have a president, they have a chairperson, like they have this whole group of sheriffs, right? And he goes over this video, how the president wouldn't talk to him, nobody would talk to him. They went to this meeting at the White House or in Washington, D.C., and if you hear what he's saying, he basically painted a picture, if you go fast forward in time, of exactly what ended up happening. He says some things which now, seeing everything kind of play out, you kind of understand why he asked for the things that he asked for. There's a ton of Ganda that's all around us at all times, and I'm sure there's going to be tons of questions about tonight because all of this is absolutely kooky. So stick around. We're going to go over, of course, them talking about and claiming that there is anti-gravity drones above us. And this isn't just from like a regular nobody. This is not only from a Green Beret, but this is from a senior leader in the Green Berets, somebody who did have a huge part. They're saying it's PTSD and the guy just went off the rails. This is far too wild for that. We've got self-driving cars driving people to the location. I mean, it is absolutely nuts. And we've got, of course, huge podcasters being contacted before Pete Hegseth is involved in this. It's just absolutely wild. So stick around. This show, out of all of them, and I'm telling you, this is literally the most important. I do not tell you that unless it is absolutely true. This is the most important show to watch every single minute. I think that people should be prepared right now. People should be preparing for nationwide events, whether they believe the sources on this or not. I think that you'll understand why by the end of this show. We'll be right back right after this. Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, or financial advice. The views of the callers can differ considerably and do not necessarily reflect my opinion, Dex's opinion, or anyone else who works with the show. You should always do your own research and consult with professionals. The internet is full of fake news, so please take everything with a grain of salt. If you have not already, it helps us out if you end up going through any of our affiliates, and it helps you out if you end up protecting yourself against cybercrime. NordVPN is one of the best and one of the easiest to use. If you do not have a virtual private network, it protects your IP address, which is your online identity, which actually connects to your real address and everything else. It also connects to you. If you know anything about how they are data logging and basically getting your profiles down, you can prevent that by having a VPN. Nord is, again, one of the easiest. Download it. It's like an on switch and off switch. All you have to do. Go to marfooglenews.com/VPN. Not only will you get a giant discount on this, but you will also be helping us. I appreciate your support, and I appreciate everyone that goes through any of our affiliates. Can't say thank you enough. All right, what is going on, guys? It is Adam, aka Marf, and this is Marfoogle News. Let me fix something real quick. It'll be super distracting. All right, so If you are not up to speed, we're going to talk about all of this. We're going to get you up to speed. We're going to show you visual aids so you can truly understand how absolutely wacky this whole story is, how it is unfolding, and if it is true, if there's even an ounce of truth to this, we are absolutely in a twilight zone right now. Absolute twilight zone. So we're going to go over all of this. Now, let's bring in my co-host / internet brother, Dex James. What is going on, and how are you doing today?
Well, hello, Adam, and hello, Foogle fam. I'm doing just fine.
So, first of all, just a quick backstory. Shawn Ryan, this is the gentleman right here. Shawn Ryan is the guy on the left. You've probably seen clips of him sitting in a comfy chair, interviewing different people. He interviews a lot of military folks. Some said he was a Navy SEAL. I don't have his full accolades. Later on, it does come into it because people have their questions if he's ever worked with CIA or if he's ever done other stuff for the government, whatever it is. Again, I think by the end of the show, you'll realize it doesn't matter if this is some sort of side thing or if it is absolute truth. It is absolutely something to pay attention to. Dex, go ahead.
I was going to say his claim to fame is he's a former U.S. Navy SEAL and a CIA contractor with 14 years of service.
So there you go. She is a CIA analyst. She specializes in gathering open source information, a lot of the stuff that she puts out. Mind you, I want to point out that a lot of people are pointing out that she deals in a lot of open source. She has huge connections. If you actually do some research on her, she, especially with her book, The Benghazi Know Thy Enemy, between her book and all of that, she has made huge connections with some of really high-ranking people. She's very, very smart. That is for sure. If you listen to this interview of her and him about 3 or 4 weeks ago, you will quickly realize like she's on top of the ball. Whether that ball is made out of Ganda, again, that is up to the individual. But in this show, she states something that does make so much sense. It is hard not to go, okay, that actually makes a whole lot of sense. Because when they're talking about, she comes on the show, she talks about how based on the information, not only by what we are finding here in the country, but what they are saying in Al-Qaeda and all of these other groups, that they are planning nationwide events across the country. Now, does this sound familiar? Because I've been talking about this for a long time. Again, it doesn't take a crystal ball to see this happening because it has been warned. There's been DHS warnings, DOD warnings. There have been very special instructions from the Gov for us to prep and to do certain things, but those go right under the radar. There has been a warning from our former and next president saying essentially that he took out Soleimani, where this is all connected. Iranian General Soleimani was directly connected, and she explains how and the where and how they were harboring Al-Qaeda in Iran. He was taken out, right? And the reason they said that they took him out was because he said that Iran was planning nationwide events, something so big that it made 9/11 look like chicken feed, that the 2001 event would just be absolutely nothing. And if you look at what she's talking about happening in 2025, she's saying that there is a plan for 2025, an organized event much like the 7th of October happening not only here, but in Europe. Now, you don't have to believe her. You don't have to believe him. You don't have to believe the next gentleman that we're going to be talking about. But I will tell you this actually makes a whole lot of sense when you line all of this up. When you are looking at all of these events, if there is any shred of truth, because usually the truth is stranger than fiction here, it is absolutely wild. You can at least tell if these people are puppets or if they are just blissfully ignorant and they're being told this so that they then repeat it to others. Even if that was the case, there is a very specific thing being told on the background, and now we're starting to get the whole picture painted for us. Now, I want to go back to this video of the Butler County Sheriff. Now, I would try to skip through this thing. Let me see. I was trying to get some clips here, but I wanted you to hear this. Let me see if I can unmute this real quick.
That there are more red flags going off now than before 9/11. Okay? When I say red flags, meaning people that are here in this country that are wanting to do harm to us.
Now, this was the Butler County Sheriff. He talks about not only that him and the 3,300 other sheriffs go to Washington, D.C., but he also talks about how he were in a lot of trouble, that because of all of the people that have come in over the last 4 years, there's a lot of people that they don't exactly know who they are, but these are bad people. And he reiterates in really simple terms, he goes, there are really bad people. These are not your friends. These are people that want to do direct harm, that want to take us out, that are here, right? He even talks about the southern border to Canada, says that, hey, everybody's looking that way. Looking up is also a good idea. He then goes into how he wants to talk to, he's asked representatives of his state for 3 very specific things. It's actually, that's great. So he talks about the cyber attacks. He talks about how the U.S. is on the defense, not the offense. And then he talks about the drones, right? And this is before all of the drone madness. This is before the East Coast. So let me go to this section here where he's talking about the drones.
Hell, our grid system goes out when it gets hot. So, and our grid system is from the 1960s. And they're trying to attack our phone system. The Chinese are flying over with their little balloons. That's not to help us and help us do some weather direction. And all we're doing is we're on the defense. We're absorbing this. And these other countries that are attacking us overseas, it's a lot of drone attacks. Get into drones.
And he specifically points out, and you realize he's pointing out other countries, what is happening there. And then by the end of it, he's saying that he essentially is asking for a very specific thing, right? So let me just fast forward through a little bit.
Technology with us. So what we're going to do is we're reaching out to the private industry, and we're going to see if we can get anything that can detect drones.
He says we're going to reach out even through private industry. Again,
I'll time out to stop the drones. Hell, my grandkids have drones. Everybody has drones. We have no technology. The federal government doesn't share any of the drone technology with us. So what we're going to do is we're reaching out to the private industry, and we're going to see if we can get anything that can detect drones and how we can stop drones.
And this is months. Nobody's talking about drones at this point. This is 10 months ago, right? So he's talking about this drones. One of the 3 things, this was a major thing. There was newspaper articles, which we covered the next day after this press conference, where senators and other folks representatives popped out and said, hey, he really shouldn't have been talking about this meeting. This meeting was supposedly with Christopher Wray of the FBI, but actually there were 3 other members of FBI that were giving them this update. And this update essentially said that there's going to be events all over the place, that every little city, that, you know, big cities across the country are going to have all of this stuff happening. They talked about the suburbs. And by the way, I've spoken to another actual sheriff about this that was at this meeting. And he said he could not believe how much the Butler County Sheriff said. He said he is not comfortable talking about even a third of what they said. But he said that this update was incredibly serious. That they are talking about suburbs and not just the big cities. So if you think you're out in the country, they have thought about that as well, that there was something going on. Now you fast forward to, of course, this whole drone scenario, which now most people laugh it off. They go, ha, the drones over the East Coast. Especially, we've been told too, if you are following this stuff, if you're smart, you know that usually the PsyOps, they'll be covered unanimously by all medias, and then after they're done, you just never get an update. They just disappear. One day, you're just not talking about it. Basically, the holiday happened, you had Christmas, you had New Year's, and then nobody's talking about these drones flying all over New Jersey. It just disappears. That's normally a sign that it is an op, right? At least that's kind of our community's thoughts on it. But at the same time, during that period when the drones were out there, one representative came out and he said, I've spoke with somebody in aviation, not in naval. He said, I spoke to somebody in aviation and transport, and essentially he goes, I'll tell you the real deal. There is an Iranian mothership off of the coast. right away, people said, wait, what? People ended up debunking that by saying, no, Iran only has 2 drone carriers / just carriers in general. Oh, no, this couldn't be Iran. And they said they showed satellite footage of the actual carriers off of the coast of Iran and said, no, that's not Iran. That's totally not true. But what that gentleman said was a drone mothership. Did not say drone carrier. Drone carriers are different. That is a boat that launches drones off of it. There is new technology that we have covered here and we've been talking about that China claims it has. And again, not Iran, but China and Iran have been exchanging a ton of stuff. In fact, we have covered probably 5 or 6 stories of Iran having things that they've never had before, but of course, China has said that they had. So you either assume they either got it from China or from Russia. North Korea has had technology that they've never had before. They got it from Russia or Iran. You've got all of these interconnecting webs that are in between this. So there is a chance, and I said this back then, I said everybody's like debunking and saying, oh, there's no mothership because there's no drone carriers there. What the guy ends up saying later, and we'll talk about this letter, is that this is possibly drones with a paraphonetic anti-gravity system that are being launched out of Chinese submarines. If there's any truth to this, or if this is total ganda, either way, it seems like on a massive level, we are being set up for something absolutely crazy. So go back to this. Now there's breaking news today, and this is happening. Shawn Ryan, the show, he has this guest on, and apparently they recorded this thing, or they were about to record. The government or somebody from the government find out. The very first part of the show, he talks about how his phone was blowing up and people were saying, hey, you've got to redact names on that email. He said he was talking to somebody, the Army Chief of Staff, and they said you have to redact little parts of the email, which we'll show you here in a second, because there were 2 active Green Berets or members that were currently serving and they couldn't have their names out. But they knew and found out about it super fast. He says, he's like, I don't even know how it leaked or how it got out. It was happening. The gentleman that he pulls on his show is a gentleman who is normally on Instagram that actually runs essentially a social media platform that takes in reports from other military, because he's a ex-military analyst, from military members that are complaining about unethical scenarios in the military, or if they want to blow the whistle on bad things that are happening in the military. That's what his Instagram focuses on, and his podcast and whatever else. He self-proclaimed himself as kind of a D-list celebrity, on social media or social media presence. Turns out that the Matthew Livelsberger sent him an email the day before he did the Cybertruck. And inside that email, it is absolutely nuts. Cybertruck exploder Matthew Livelsberger claims that China is stalking the U.S. with advanced drones launched from submarines in an unhinged, perishing himself note. The former Green Beret and active U.S. Army Ranger supposedly, I don't know why they don't say this too, because they don't have absolute verification. They don't even have, we'll get over that later, they don't even have absolute verification that it is him. But the former Green Beret took himself out in the head seconds before an IED in the back of his truck went off. That IED is actually mentioned in the email as well. He calls it a VBIED or VBED, VBIED, a vehicle-borne IED. And he says that he is on the run from the Gov, and that they're following him, and that they're watching him, and that he was trying to get to Mexico or get out of the country because he is trying to blow the whistle on all these crazy things. It just gets crazier and crazier. Now, Dex, let's go over the email. So this email, which we've got to be careful about the email, this email is even crazier. He is stating things in here that if there was any truth to this and people really were just looked past everything else and said, hey, if this is true, this is like nuts.
Yeah, and just to clarify or reiterate, I think you may have already said it once, this, I believe, at least CNN and other places have reported that LEO, law enforcement, has validated the email as legitimate. So that's another thing. It's not just somebody claiming they got this email and we have no legitimacy to it. And they've gone back and looked at, the evidence that backs up the email because they turned it over to the feds and they're claiming it as legitimate, which goes to either side of the story, whether you think this is Ganda or whether you think this is truth. So do we want to go through it line by line, Adam?
So the first part says, in case I do not make it to my decision point or onto the Mexico border. So, by the way, that point says right there that doesn't sound like he was trying to not be around on the planet, if you get my drift. Says, please do not let this out before January 1st and keep my identity private until then. First off, I am not under duress or hostile influence or control. My first car, he points out his first car was a 2006 black Ford Mustang V6 for verification. When you read that as somebody just looking at this and go, oh, this guy's a little loopy, right? That is actually how they were able to verify this. And that, Dex, did you realize that that was one of the first thing that law enforcement did to verify this? Is that not weird that he's such on the mindset that he was thought to put that there, like there?
Yeah, it's a rather easy thing for LEO or the state level government or anything like that to look up DMV record quickly and figure out what you've owned.
It's spooky, to be honest. And then he says, what we have been seeing with, quote, drones is operational use of gravitic propulsion system. I was totally butchering it earlier. Gravitic, like gravity, only gravitic propulsion systems powered aircraft by most recently China in the East Coast. But throughout history, the U.S., only we and China have this capability. Our operational center location for this activity in the box is below, or OPCEN. I think that's what it means. China has been launching them from the Atlantic from submarines for years, but this activity recently has picked up. As of now, it is a show of force, and they are using it similar to how they use the balloon for signal intelligence and ISR. I can't remember, intelligence, reconnaissance. Well, I don't know what the ISR stands for. You guys in the military can fill me in. Which are also part of the integrated comms system. There are dozens of those balloons in the air at any given time. It says the so what is because of the speed and stealth of these unmanned AC aircraft. They are the most dangerous threat to national security that has ever existed. They basically have unlimited payload capacity and can park it over the White House if they wanted. It's checkmate. USG needs to give the history of this, how we are employing it and weaponizing it, how China is employing them, and the way forward is. China is poised to attack anywhere in the East Coast. That's if this is all true, right? And the whole drone thing is so spectacularly weird in the first place. And of course, it was very easy for all of us to go, okay, people are just looking at planes. But the people I have talked to on the East Coast that have seen these things, the Foogle fam members, the people that watch our show that have seen it, they said this is not, when you see it in person, you know it's not a plane. Now, the people here in any other state reporting this, I don't know. They might actually be seeing drones, right? They could be seeing U.S. technology drones. They could see our drones responding to something else. Maybe people just didn't notice because their heads were so damn buried in their phones that they didn't see it. I don't know. But one thing is if this gentleman is telling the truth, which this guy was not just a regular Joe. Dex, can you talk about you had a list of accolades there. What he is.
He claims, at the very end, he goes, for vetting, I'm active duty 18Z out of 110. My profile is public. I have an active TSSCI, a UAP, and USAP access. Now, that's a whole bunch of acronyms most people don't know. So 18Z is an MOS, which is a designation, a military occupational specialty. It's Special Forces Operations Sergeant. So it's a senior leadership position in the Army Special Forces, aka Green Berets. So potentially responsible for overseeing operational planning and execution. The 1-10 likely refers to 1st Battalion 10th Special Forces Group. They operate out of Europe and other locations and focus on unconventional warfare, counter-T, and other specialized missions. The TSSCI clearance, That is top secret, sensitive, compartmentalized information, which is one of the highest levels of security clearance in the U.S. government. It indicates the individual is trusted with highly sensitive national security information. The UAP, USAP, could stand for unacknowledged access programs, often referring to highly sensitive or classified projects. So you think of those projects that are sort of off the books or maybe working with three-letter agencies. USAP, also similar, unacknowledged special access programs, which are highly classified defense projects known only to a limited number of individuals.
So if you put all this stuff together, if this is at all true, this is extremely spooky. And it makes and by the way, this makes a whole lot more sense than, say, UFOs. And by the way, I still believe there's stuff up there. But the stuff over Jersey and things like this, like the fact that some of these took a break on Thanksgiving, I'm sorry. I think it's something about us or whatever. So again, that could even add to the other side of this, where this could totally be, U.S. stuff. They say, hey, they're up there. But it's so weird how China just recently, around the same time period, said that they have a coating, a special aircraft coating, that virtually makes their aircraft invisible to radar. So even if they can physically see something, they won't be able to see it on radar. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, it was one other thing I was going to kind of add to his credentials. As he talks about one of the events, so we may get to it in a moment, he talks about this event that happened in 2019. He claims in that he was conducting the targeting for the strikes, so more than likely drone type activity. He was part of that bigger thing. So I would say that he probably had and still did or has lots of access to drone technology and capability in the special forces sense. So meaning, he probably knows a lot about that, if all of this stuff is true.
Yeah, this would be the guy that would have that info. Now, some of the initial things that they're saying is that he's totally wacky, that he's got PTSD, all of this. If he was active at this point, so when this all happened, he's active. He has gone through a rigmarole. If he does have the TSSCI or whatever, the top security clearance, then he has gone through vetting for that. He has been vetted, and they probably even do, have him talk to shrinks to get that kind of clearance to make sure he is okay mentally to deal with that, right? So this whole thing is getting stranger by the minute. And it all culminates in what we're going to talk about here in a second, which is nationwide events, something happening on a massive scale. And it very well could be tied back to China, to Iran. And by the way, I'm not biting on anything hook, line, and sinker either. This could go the other way. Either way, the picture that is painted, that most people that just have their eyes open for 5 minutes, they're going to see, something's about to happen. So whether they want us to think it is or it is going to happen, I would prepare either way, because they could always paint a ship to look like a different country and go, pew, pew, and then something happens and they go, we need to go to war. There are so many that still, even in our community, that go, well, nobody wants war. Yes, they do. There is so much money in a war. There are so many ways to quickly change laws, put in bills, take away freedoms, all for the better bottom line of the corporations. There's so many reasons, not to mention the other ones, like the fact that they think that less of us being around would be better for the planet. But there's a lot of reasons why all of this could go very, very south very, very quickly. All of the stuff in the Middle East, the Syria stuff, all of this, once you realize how interconnected all of it is, all of the groups, all of the T cells, the groups that normally were separated, they're saying that they are all essentially under the same banner now. And we just helped take over Syria and created a lot of really, really pissed off people. And we've been sending money out like crazy, and I'm kind of worried that a lot of that money is going towards paying for some sort of massive, massive thing. But yeah, and then and I want to point out, so the whole drone situation, everything else. Meanwhile, Dex, did I send you the video? I think I forgot to send you a video. Wolverine Snicket in chat sent me a video, and I did not have time to check if he responded about if that was in Taiwan or China. I believe it is in China. Let me see. It is a video of troops in China moving, actual physical troops, thousands of troops moving towards a location. And they were saying that from family that it is either military or in the know, that they were claiming that go time was either on the 29th or nearby it. And that was the 29th of last month, December 29th. That something is going on in China, that they're moving things towards the coastline again. We just saw a massive drill there. They, around the same exact time on the 29th, I believe we were talking about how they were doing those blockades in the Malacca Strait. So something may be happening. For them to take Taiwan, for them to really take it fully, they would want to get the U.S. out of the picture. For Venezuela to take Guyana, they would want the U.S. out of the picture. For North Korea to take South Korea, they would want the U.S. out of the picture. And for Russia to take Ukraine, they would want the U.S. and NATO out of the picture. If something happens to the U.S. and Europe simultaneously, something very big, that would be overwhelming for the United States and for Europe. That is exactly what is talked about with Sarah Adams saying that that they have been training for this, that they're going to do an October 7 event just like that here. I want to point out that they also used in South Korea, they believe that an October 7 type event would happen there, and that's what they drilled for. In fact, the United States military and the South Korean military drilled in a hypothetical event and they directly, in the scenario, they compared it to what happened to Israel on the 7th, and they compared it to October 7, and they went and took out imaginary targets in this kind of event. So they have been talking about this for months and months and months. We have shown you that on the back end, this is what they're prepping for, and now there's public-facing information stating that that is exactly what they are thinking is going to happen. So for those of you that we have been telling you this for months and months and months, that probably got, a little bit of prep done every week, if something did happen tomorrow, you would be better off. So there is an argument to knowing about this as soon as possible. But even if you found out today, don't freak out, never be scared, be prepared. Get a little bit done at a time. But I thoroughly believe that we are still still weeks away from the power change, that the craziness is not over. It is 2025, the most predicted year to be the craziest year of our lifetimes, not only by statistical Einsteins like Edwin J. Deagle, but also everything that has lined up over the years is now coming to a head. People need to get ready now more than ever. Thank you. And by the way, super chats have come in, but again, I'm gonna this is so important. I'll wait here a second to do those. China is menacing Taiwan with a drone swarm attack. Dex, do you want to talk about this? And the U.S. is playing catch up.
Well, I mean, this just goes hand in hand with the fact that we've talked about, and this is from last year, about the heavy investment of drones from China. And it kind of lends itself to the fact that, we know that they have invested heavily in drones. And for this speculation to be that this new technology could be Chinese drones, well, look no further than the fact that, they are literally building and trying to swarm the island of Taiwan off of the shores. And that is very much how they would do it with unmanned aerial naval drones.
And not only does China have these special ships that are drone carriers, they have one of the first most completely autonomous drone carriers. So a naval boat that could essentially go to its target and deploy drones with AI and autonomous technology without a single human on board. There is also a story. Dex, did we get that drone in here?
Yeah, we have. We also have the fisherman that caught the Chinese spy drone off the coast of the Philippines. And yeah, we have that one as well. That It's looks like a torpedo, so it's not an aerial drone. It's a water-based drone, but it's a communications drone. And again, when you think about the investment being made in potential drone invasion, drone technology, what is the supporting infrastructure that would then be surfaced in areas? We don't know what else could have been going on there in the Philippines, but they did happen to snag this particular torpedo-looking drone that is a Chinese communication spy drone that was found right off the shores in the Philippines.
And mind you, this thing they said could go as deep as 4 miles deep. And I believe it literally said 4 miles because that is really deep. I mean, that's insane. It's insanity if that is true. Maybe it was 4 kilometers, but I think that would even, I don't know how, I forget. Kilometers is more than miles, right? Either way, it goes extremely deep, and it moves like a fish. Apparently, it gets its propulsion from going up and down, and it pushes it forward. These things, they believe, could not only be something that, if on the science side, they could be used for scientific experiments or doing, climate things, but they said that all of the offices that actually create and run these are all connected directly with the CCP, that they all have military applications, and that these possibly could be used to monitor the entire ocean, that they could spot ships, that they could essentially keep note and track all of the U.S. ships. The same U.S. ships that China says they are able to knock out their radar systems that allow them to fire back at anything fired at them. China has claimed that they have a satellite technology that can knock out all of our responding radars, the things that would say, oh, missile coming, and shoot that missile out of the sky, that they can knock not only those out, but the entire world with as little as 32 satellites or 29 satellites. They have also said that they have the technology that can cloak all of their craft. And I know people are saying, oh, but that's China saying they do. If you look at some of the modern marvels of China in just the last 5 years, including other things like dams, they have literally created the first of many things in the last few years. With 1.4 billion people there, they say statistically, they probably have a bunch of Einstein-level geniuses there. So again, I think it's very possible that they are advancing like this and that it is true. They're telling us this. I believe it. And I think that they are behind a lot of this because they also have a ton of money. We also just recently found out that the experts believe that they were lying about how they were going broke, which it's so funny because 2 years ago when everybody was saying that they were bankrupting themselves and that they were going bankrupt, I said that's really weird because the CCP and all of the CCP mouthpieces in China were talking about how they were bankrupting themselves. China never puts out negative things about themselves unless there's a purpose. Essentially, their articles in the People's Daily and the Shenzhen and all of these straight-up mouthpieces from the CCP were straight up saying that they are going broke and that they're not doing well. Look weak when you are strong. Meanwhile, almost everybody here in the United States is buying crap directly from China. Everything is manufactured there. Countries all over the world are now doing more business with China than they are with the U.S. That is statistically there. You can see the world going red over time, and it's all been happening. And they say they have a microwave technology that can spot our submarines in the water. So, I mean, there are so many things right now, if you add up, we very well may be right on the precipice of some sort of major event that could see either our grid messed with, cyber attack, physical people on the grounds, and it will look like something else, much like Leave the World Behind. We'll be confused saying, is it Iran? Is it North Korea? Is it China? And nobody will know. At the same exact time, we are so completely divided at everybody's, everybody's at each other's necks going, I want to take you out. It looks like all of these things are happening all at the same time. This is massive, massive 4D chess, and it almost appears like we are losing. Everybody thinks that in just a few days, on the 20th, that all of that is going to be reversed. But if you don't think that they have a plan for the first day that he's in, then I would say think again, because something massive is on the horizon. It is absolutely my opinion that we are on the precipice of something massive. I don't even know how people cannot see, whether this is Ganda or not. We are at a cliff right now. I can see too people that always go, "Oh, chill out, nothing's gonna happen, everything's gonna be fine." People like that, I guess to me, I'm just like, how can you just put your fingers in your ears and go, nah, nothing's happening? Meanwhile, the last time they did that, we had, CV, which was very questionable, but the entire world went on lockdown. They said the same thing about that. I've been saying this for years. WW3 is coming, and it's not going to look like any other war we have ever been in. Some things will be similar, though, like the draft. Yeah, just so much there. Now, before we move on, we are completely independent. So if you want to support us in a different kind of way and get yourself protected at the same time, highly recommend getting yourself an EMP shield. This is a device that can protect your cars and keep them running after multiple EMP strikes from an adversary like China or North Korea, Russia, Iran, whichever one we've pissed off at that current time. But not only can it do that, it grounds the signal in less than 500 trillionths of a second before it's able to fry your cars, trucks, motorcycles, boats, generators, like the bug out or like the energy, or even your home, before it's able to fry your device. And of course, you can actually protect yourself against a Carrington level event from the sun. So it blocks against non-nuclear EMP, a backpack device that could knock out a whole city that DOD and DHS have been warning about. It can block against EMP, a massive one put over the middle of Kansas, and it can block against a solar event, a natural event from the sun, like what happened with the Carrington level event. So this is very easy to put in your vehicles. It will get you home. That means your car is going to run when nobody else's does. It means that your generator is going to fire up when nobody else's does. It means everything within 250 feet, linear feet of where this is wired into your home, that all of your devices will be protected. It also works for lightning. It's basically a surge protector on crack. So marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use the code MARF. Not only are you helping our independent journalism, but you are also getting yourself protected. You're not just giving money away. You are actually getting yourself prepped at the same time as getting a discount and helping independents. So go to marfooglenews.com/EMP. Make sure to use that code MARF. You don't want to forget about that, because that stacks on top of any sale they have. And you, of course, that works for multiple. So if you want to route out multiple cars, a car, a generator, a house, whatever combination, and it stacks on top of any sale. All right. And then the Cybertruck, there's more information about this. It drove around Vegas. Now, this is absolutely crazy. I can't play the end of this, but what I will say is this is absolutely nuts, because the path was revealed. Dex, what was so interesting about this path, and side theory on that?
Yeah, so the theory on this is they're showing, or what's being represented here, and is that it made a pass through once earlier, went around up and down Las Vegas Boulevard, potentially went to other locations before coming back again to the tower there, to the Don's Tower. And when you watch this video, you can see the footage. They kind of show and highlight on the screen where you can see it going through the car lobby there, and look what it looks like making it to the end and coming out, and what would be coming out the other side. And then you could see it turning at the corner, leaving the location. some people have questioned, why is the camera moving? The camera's not moving. For those of you that do question that, this is a wide-angled camera shot, and they're crop zooming as they're trying to stay in focus or highlight to you what is visible or should be visible, is my assumption on this video. But I'm not backing it up. It's not my video. I don't know where it came from. This is still speculation. But the reason why it may be important is, now that we talk about this letter where he says he was trying to make his way to Mexico, the question then goes back to the thing that everybody has been asking from the beginning, was how do you do what he did to himself and set that off at the same time? Or did that happen before and it was self-driven? Now, they did come out and say, well, no, we don't think it was self-driven, but maybe it was. And that could lend itself to this theory of it being there once before, because if you wanted to test if the self-driving would actually get exactly to the location perfectly and not require you coming out of self-driving, you would go through an initial run. And that might make sense why it potentially was seen beforehand and then left and then came back again. Maybe the second time around had somebody else in it, or maybe had a person in it that was already perished. We don't know. But a lot of people are speculating, at least from, you know, the evidence that they've seen, they don't see an event that would have happened before the explosion that would have been the signature to the life event that he took upon himself in the front seat, as they're claiming.
Now, I want to point out something very unnerving is, let me see if this, so they're saying that Grok is saying that there's a summary of what they're seeing. It says Grok can make mistakes, but it made a statement based on what's being said right now as of 17 minutes ago, that podcaster Shawn Ryan has announced he will be stepping away from social media temporarily following the release of an episode featuring that thing that we just talked about, allegedly sent by Matthew Livelsberger. I don't know if this is true or not, but it is
true.
Concerning.
He made a post. Yeah, I just read it. He made a post saying that he was leaving with his family, and that his social media would still be handled and it would be posted, but it wouldn't be from him at his location, that he was going somewhere with his family. And I assume he's, you know, either he had a vacation planned conveniently, or he's getting off grid because of the heat that is being brought about this topic.
So this is, it puts us as the people that pass it on in a dangerous position here. This stuff is just really, really alarming. We're going to put the rest on our website. There's other details from the phone, as Dex was just mentioning about the whole drive around, the possible, some of the theories depicted in some of this. By the way, it also could be that Shawn Ryan's purposely stepping away doing that they are, if this was totally on a Ganda tip,
it certainly hypes it up, doesn't it?
It does hype it up. It does. It does a perfect job of it.
I mean, look, if this whole thing is a Ganda piece, you've got all the right players doing all the right things, creating all the right evidence, and making everything and getting everyone riled up and talking about it. So you look at this idea here from either of those two angles, it's still a huge story. It's just, which one is it? Is it being fed to us, or is it legit?
And on top of all of the other soldiers that have been involved, and by the way, that episode, the most recent one that just came out today or yesterday, of the gentleman who got the crazy email, that's 2 military members. He actually, in that episode, he goes, I think it's really, that people are trying to connect the two just because they were both at the same fort. I thought that part was the only weird part, that I'm like, why is he so like, this guy wouldn't hang out with this guy, and just because they were both here doesn't mean anything. For you military folks, tell me if you agree. I mean, a lot of people could go through Fort, Bragg or whatever, but I just thought it was weird how he approached that subject when it got around to that. That's when tingle went off in my head about what he was saying and why he was saying it. and why he had such a strong opinion. Like, oh no, I know they're not friends. They don't know each other. Dex, go ahead.
Yeah, a couple other claims I picked up out of that video between the interview. One, at the very end, they changed subjects, and he was talking about what's come across the border. And he was talking about, was it man pods, I believe? Is the
man
term?
pads.
But man pads,
Not the manliest name, but...
Yeah, exactly. but basically, in a nutshell, it's an Iranian missile. And they're claiming that they have come across. And he wasn't sure if they've been captured, but the people that brought them across got captured coming again a second time. Maybe it was something different. That was what his claim was. So, again, that's another interesting piece that, while not directly related, did come out of that video. And then the other one, they mentioned about during the New Jersey incident, about one of the police departments putting up their own drone and saying that the drones that were in the sky were just lightning fast, like unbelievably fast, and would leave them as soon as they got anywhere near them. Again, I haven't heard that claim exactly like that, but that was an interesting claim they were making as well.
Yeah. This is an example of man pads, and I have also heard that man pads can be in small containers that they have, and correct me if I'm wrong, military, but that man pads can be remotely operated. There are certain systems that they can put in those tiny containers that people could even operate from an Xbox controller. That man pads can also be in larger formats or in multiple formats. So I don't know what they're saying got through, but this is the examples that they're showing of man pads. And what is the actual multi-something? What the heck is the actual acronym for man pads? Let's see here. Man Portable Air Defense System. So it could knock planes out of the sky, right? Or it could knock missiles out of the sky. The most cost-effective anti-air defense, right? So why would they need that here? And if that is true, all of this, take it with a huge cup of salt.
Those would be targeting low-flying aircraft, not high altitude, so that would be near airports.
Yeah, something. My gut has been dropping the last day. Especially with that last announcement that he says he's stepping away. That creeps me out. I hope that everybody talks about this so we don't all have to look over our shoulder. And then U.S. Army soldier allegedly linked to hacked information. So they're
Adam, just to be
trashing
safe,
all of the soldiers. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just to be safe and put it out there for those that
we're happy.
Look at this, we're happy, but also that look at this as the information we're reporting came from mainstream too. They're reporting it as well. So it's not like we're just necessarily the only ones that are spreading the Shawn Ryan story, so to speak. The very first piece of evidence that we put in our bibliography is from the mainstream doing it.
Yeah. If you're listening, right? Just gotta make sure. If you're listening, we're not the only ones. If we're listening, who cut the cord? Hey guys, I just wanted to come back and let you know that absolutely all of this show is based on completely untrue information, and there is absolutely no truth to any of this, okay? This guy was an absolute wacko, PTSD all the way. Inquiring Minds, you guys are doing good work, Marf and Dex. Well, Inquiring Minds, thank you. C-Max says, Happy New Year. Chat is broke, stuck on 30-second mode. Make sure to exit out and come back in. And make sure that you never, ever, ever say, anything that was said on this show to any of your friends. And please do not share this anywhere. Anywhere. Not even with your family. M. St. G, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Cat, important info. No, it is not. But thank you for the super chat. In fact, it is the opposite of important info. You should immediately forget it. Immediately. Don't blink. I mean, don't say that part out. And New Orleans, the suspects traveled to Egypt under investigation. So actually quite a crazy itinerary here as well, because the guy mostly did a couple trips here and there, but he ended up going to Cairo. Was it Cairo for 3 weeks? Is that right, Dex?
Yeah, they're saying it was in 2023 for about a month. It was in Egypt, yeah.
And that is where he went to fix his car, and somebody had to talk to him about his extended warranty, and they have now sort of verified that. So don't worry about that trip. Yeah. So what actually happened? We absolutely know. Nothing weird at all. And the suspect in the truck that took 14 and injured dozens traveled to Egypt in 2023 for about a month, his half-brother told ABC News. Again, very crazy stuff coming out.
He said it was because it was cheap and beautiful, and he went all by himself.
Yeah, exactly. And that all of you, we recommend it. Now, before we move on, a really, really good thing to do, again, if you've already got a gas-powered generator, I highly recommend not only looking into solar, but if you're really trying to go legit with solar power, then I would highly recommend getting a grid-down system. It's high capacity. It is a massively easy system to use, and it is all EMP shield protected right off of the bat. Again, you can actually plug a 30 amp port right into a grid down unit. You actually have 3 different units. You have the main unit at 1.61 kilowatt hours. That's about 1,600 hours. You actually have an extension. You can get a Bug Out XP unit with 4.29 or about 4,300 hours on that. And this one, if you end up getting anything above this, you will actually qualify for a 30% tax rebate. That, again, with the Inflation Reduction Act that everybody loves so much. But again, that does have some perks if you are going solar. They also have, if you haven't already, make sure use our link, because if you end up going and getting a house system through them, you could power a whole house or a mansion, something like this. Definitely don't forget to tell them that we sent you, because we would get a commission off of that, and that would help us out as a channel. I don't believe anyone's done this yet, but if you do, this is comparative to the Tesla wall, only EMP shield protected, and from a company that has been directly teamed up with EMP shield. We believe in this company, whereas we waited because we didn't want to do any other kind of wall battery solution that wasn't tied in with EMP shield or wasn't from a company that we absolutely knew. We didn't just put on 5 different Chinese generators that you could get right now on Monday. We even stuck with companies that we absolutely believed in, some of which, some of which you had to wait 6 months for. We would rather stick with a brand that we absolutely knew and believed in than, have you guys get something on Monday that broke right away, or when the grid does go down, it won't work or it gets turned off remotely. These things are absolutely beasts of machines, and I highly recommend them. marfugglenews.com/bugout. And there is a difference for those of you that have Energy. The Flex 1500s is exactly that. It has 3,000 peak and 1,500 continuous watt hours or watt output. This is 6,000 peak and 3,000 continuous. That's something that everyone asked for as far as solar, something that has a bigger output. So this is the answer. Go to marfuglenews.com/bugout and make sure to use the code MARF. Not only will you save money, but you will also help our channel out, which this year and last year have been probably the worst years for getting put at the bottom of the stack, hidden. Just everything that could possibly go wrong has gone wrong in the last couple years. So we appreciate those of you that have stuck with us through thick and thin. And then Dex, go ahead.
Hey Adam, I want to jump back, if you don't mind, quickly about the Army soldier out of was it Fort Hood? I think it was.
Yeah, the phone.
Yeah, my question on this one, and this is the phone one. You could tell everybody about what was actually happening, but my question for you, and I think what's an interesting discussion is, why is it we're getting military person after military person after military person? Is there something in this narrative or something in this, if it's Ganda for that matter, that they're trying to paint a picture of our service members? That's what I wonder. It just seems odd. Like it's just back to back to back military person. And that's not typical for our military by any means.
Are we seeing a picture that's much like in the movie Civil War, right? The movie that came out, you probably have seen it. It wasn't what people thought it was going to be. Shoot. It wasn't what people thought it was going to be, right? That movie was kind of, I thought it could have been better. It was a good movie for killing 2 hours, but it shows in that movie all of these states going up against these states and that they were going at it, right? It shows U.S. military members acting less than awesome in that movie, and it kind of portrayed them as like, oh, well, this is... It almost gave you the notion that the guy that was taken out at the end was our next president, that he was a third-term president, that he stayed in, and that the military guys that were with him were the people that were getting rid of anybody that wasn't from America, that kind of thing. I almost feel like it's painting this picture of that, there's the good military guys and then there's the bad military guys. The guys that support this person or the guys that support that person. And who knows, you could have some event where you have a bunch of military that end up doing some sort of event or participating in some sort of event, and it starts off a civil event at the same time as everything else. And that goes back to what I have a gut feeling that could happen, that everything could happen all at once. People think, oh, it's crazy if this one thing happens. Imagine if it all happens at once. I sure hope it doesn't. But isn't it weird how they're painting one after another that these are military guys? The first thing in our community would be like, okay, well, then that means it's us. But if they're openly admitting it and saying, yeah, these are military guys, they're basically saying, oh, well, there's the good military and the bad military. That a bunch of these guys are the R word, or that they're traitors, or they're this. In this case, it's very funky info as far as what he was doing. Dex, go ahead.
It certainly is, Adam. I mean, look, they're claiming that this person, this military person, was responsible for hacking a dozen telecommunications firms and obtaining their call records, and in such those records were both the current VP and the Don's phone records, and that it was part of that hack that we had talked about. We just didn't know who it was a while back, but now they're saying it's a military person. And again, that's just the picture that's being painted. Pay attention, folks. They're wanting to paint a picture.
Parker Craft says, what do you guys believe? All drone/orb sightings are man-made, or some man-made and some extra-dimensional or extraterrestrial? No, actually, I don't. I don't think that they're all man-made. In fact, this will be a cool subject to talk about. Next week at some point, we're going to have a surprise guest. I don't even know if it should be a surprise. But it is somebody that I met off of X, and he apparently watches the show, But he has covered some very interesting theories on his X account. One of which is that what if we are the AI? Our brains are electric, our hearts are electric, all this. And again, just crazy theories left and right on his account. But that we're like kind of a robot island. Imagine if we have AI that goes, that starts having feelings and starts creating its own languages, and it starts being autonomous, and it has singularity, and it becomes its own person. And we put them all on an island. And we see these robots fighting with each other, and they start fighting, and we intervene. We pop in with the helicopter and say, oh my gosh, they're about to take each other out, and we step in and do something. He relates that to, well, what if we were actually the robot island, that we were the advanced AI that was made into a biological kind of robot almost, from some super advanced being. I thought it was a very interesting thing. It could, at the very least, be a very, very cool movie if somebody did it to the T of the theory he's talking about. But again, we'll have a guest on next week. We still have to work out when is better for everybody. But I think you guys are going to like the interview because he covers some of the most interesting stuff I have seen. Stuff I look in this area, in this community, and I haven't seen some of these stuff like Hopi predictions and all sorts of cool stuff. Hopi predictions of a man wearing a red hat from 100 years ago. I mean, that changes everything with two other people. I mean, just nuts stuff. He finds some really weird stuff, and I think he'll be a perfect guest on this show. You'll probably be able to figure out if you go over to my X account, but again, check it out. And then Dex, let's go over T-Man, is to be sentenced. As all of this is going on the 10th, they are going to apparently sentence him for the hush money thing right before he takes power.
Yeah, this is crazy,
What?
right? So, yeah, the judge originally said he postponed it indefinitely, and many thought that just meant he was just going to sit on it for 4 or 5 years or however long, or maybe never. But apparently, no. He's announced today that he's ordering the Don to appear for sentencing on January 10th in New York. So that we will hear what the ruling is. Now, that is awfully close to obviously the day that comes 10 days later, when the power changes. Now, he had asked initially for the case to be withdrawn because of the fact that there was the Supreme Court ruling about certain parts of immunity, and they thought that there was parts of it that could play into this, and that wasn't listened to. And then they asked him to throw it out because it would be difficult for him to perform his duties as president with this sitting over and over his shoulder, so to speak, waiting to happen. And then that didn't happen. So now what has come forward is he said, okay, well, we're just going to get the sentencing going, and we're doing it now.
And I can see it now. We'll see if it I'll show you something here. Yeah, could imagine this. You're driving down the road and you see T-Man doing community service. I don't know. Do you think it could happen? Because they say he will not serve jail time. So what are they going to do? Fine him? And how much would that fine be? Would it be greater than his hush money payment? I don't know. I guess we'll see. But if you do see this, make sure to capture it. Make sure, do the best you can and safely pull over and get a picture of it and send it to Marfoogle News. If you get video, make sure to go over to marfooglenews.com/play-my-video. Speaking of which, all of this information, including any tweets referenced, any videos, any emails, anything is going to be over on the website archived. If it disappears or I disappear, just know I love you guys and I'm happy. But yeah, if this goes away, then you'll know what happened. Make sure to go check out this. It has everything there. Dex, go ahead.
How much will that orange vest go for after he is done with it? And will he start putting his branding on them and reselling them online?
or break it up into NFTs. Take a picture of it and NFT it, or cut it up into little pieces and then put it into a coin, a commemorative coin. I guess we'll see. Let's see here. Inquiring Minds, thank you for your support. Thank you for everybody that gifted memberships. Thank you for the new members there. Thank you, Parker Craft. Thank you. And Searcher 7. Searcher, thank you guys. Thank you guys for thank you for your support. Inquiring Minds and Searcher, you guys tied for top supporters tonight. Thank you guys so much for your support. Keepin' 66, love listening to you both. Happy New Year. Well, thank you, and love all you guys. Thanks for coming. Make sure to share this video out far and wide. And yeah, pray for us. All right, Dex, thank you so much for your service tonight.
Much love. Great job, brother.
Is there anything we missed?
Only in that topic that gets hairy. I think you guys can read the rest of that story because it's on the website.
Yeah, I'm trying to think because I know there's going to be something. Oh, you know what? There's something I didn't miss that's very important. But you're going to have to come back tomorrow or Monday. It's Friday. But I probably will be doing updates on this over the weekend. So make sure to tune in to both channels. Both are available at marfooglenews.com. Thank you very much for everybody that has made it. Love you. Be safe. And make sure to thank your mods by going over to marfooglenews.com/friends. You have everybody from Bones to Wages World, Trinity, Ilea, of course, Bobby Sue, Rip Curl Readiness, Lisa, Optical Gem, CJ Blaze, and so many more down in the Friends category that you should go check out. So make sure to go support them and show them some love. It is now time for the shoutro. It's not an outro. It's not a shout out. It's a shoutro. The video will port right over. If you want to hang out with your friends in the chat, just stay there. You'll be ported over to Marfoogle Jams. We have a Song of Satisfaction for Searcher 07 and Inquiring Minds. Thank you guys. Thank you for supporting our small channel here.